Leadership is not about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in your charge. Reflecting on that note, I now request Flow President Jayanti Ji Dalmia to present the year that was.
कर्मण्य वादिका रस्ते माँ फलेषु कदाचन माँ कर्म फल हेतुर्भूत ते संगोत्सव कर्मणि. You have control over the deed and never the fruit. Therefore, when you do anything, do not keep the fruit in mind. Focus only on your performance. And that does not mean that you do not perform the act. This shloka contains an advice that seems simple enough, but it is very difficult to implement. Today, it gives me great pleasure to welcome eminent personalities like Shri Sunil Kant Munjal, Shri Anurag Sharma Ji, Minister of Parliament, and FICCI President, Shri Subrokant Panda. Salesh Pathak Ji, our SG, and Jyoti Vij. Flow family, members in the auditorium, other distinguished guests, Flow past presidents, chapter chairs, GB members, and members from our 19 chapters pan-India. And not to miss my family and my friends. While trying to balance between the journey and impact, I have now reached towards the culmination of my term as the 39th National President of FICCI Ladies Organization. A year has gone by. A year has gone by with a great sense of satisfaction. I can acknowledge that Flow has brought about substantial changes in the lives of women at all levels. We have impacted over 1.5 lakh lives all over India. When I took up this role, I was wondering how I can be effectively contributing towards the process of making considerable changes in the lives of women and impact the society broadly. I have been associated with FICCI Ladies Organization for a long time, but taking on the mantle of presidentship meant an entirely different world of challenges and responsibilities. Now, as I look back at the year 2022-23, I feel a deep sense of fulfillment, and it has been one of the most exciting and enriching phases of my life. This year, my vision was to propel learning, increase networking, and ensure enrichment amongst our members. The theme for 22-23 was transforming women's participation in India's growth trajectory and facilitating economic empowerment of women. Our aim was to fostering economic growth and prosperity through business networking, business promotions, startup handholding, facilitating financial literacy, digital empowerment, and inclusion of the specially abled and many more. The list goes on. The narrative around inclusivity has evolved over time. The inclusion not only relates to gender, but it also incorporates specially able and the LGBTQ community. We have worked towards facilitating inclusive mindsets that goes beyond building awareness, leading to action, one that acknowledges and appreciates the value that people of diversity can bring to businesses and society. Conscious was made to align each event with the vision of flow. We had meaningful interactions with speakers from various sectors, ranging from politics, bureaucracy, art, education, music, film and media, amongst others. We launched our 18th chapter at Vadodara in June 2022. A successful business delegation was taken to Doha, Paris, and Athens in the month of September 2022. The largest only women delegation seen in the country of Qatar and Greece. Anshukam, the Flow Textile and Handloom Festival, which was an exclusive conference of weavers and designers, showcasing rich heritage, vibrance, and variety of Indian textiles. Flow Women Directors Initiative, training several women to be taken on boards and being accepted at the leadership position. Our startup cell was working towards hand-holding young businesses with high growth potential by providing them with necessary guidance. We have adopted villages across India to transform them with focus on industry, trade, skilling, health, nutrition, sanitation, environment, especially for women. In our endeavor to create an enabling environment for business to grow, Flow continues the initiative of Flow Business Promotion, which is a platform for all to promote their business and services by uploading, advertising, and posting in this group. I can assure that opportunities for formal and informal exchanges at Flow are infinite. As the president of Flow for 2023, my endeavor was to bring the best resources and opportunities to Flow, to augment learning, boost networking, and ensure enrichment amongst our members. It is an absolute honor to work alongside a dynamic team of presidium and governing body members who share the same vision, business growth, and healthy community environment. This journey wouldn't have been so meaningful and significant without the constant support and guidance from our esteemed past presidents of Flow. My sincere gratitude to Flow Secretariat, led by Executive Director Rashmi Sarita, ably supported by Joint Director Ankurita Pathak, Senior Assistant Director Anshu Gupta, Assistant Director Pushpinder Sharma, Tabassum, Natasha, and Saurabh for their steadfast and wholehearted support. Thank you all for giving me this opportunity and an experience which will stay with me for a lifetime. I will always be proud of my Flow family. Thank you so much. May I now request the IT to play the film for 22-23.
Excuse me, please. Hello. 1 second, I'm here. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just have a request to make. It's entirely up to you to take it up or not. There is a sign language interpreter there, and there are a couple of deaf people also here. Would you permit, with your permission, for the interpreter to come up on stage?
Sure, ma'am. We really appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jayanti ji, for the fabulous year in review. I would also like to welcome Honourable Member of Parliament Anurag Sharma ji, who's finally joined us for this session. On behalf of FLOW, I request Jayanti Dalmia to felicitate our chief guest, Mr. Sunil Manjal, with a green certificate.
Ma'am. Yes, please.
Also, our guest of honor, Honourable Minister Mr. Anurag Sharma, with a green certificate. And our very own FICCI President, SUNIL Kant Munjal.
Yes, please. Ma'am. Ma'am. मैम थोड़ा सा प्लीज आगे.
A very warm welcome to Sailesh Pathak ji as well. Sorry, sir. I welcome Mr. Subrikant Panda, our own President FICCI, who's the Managing Director of Indian Metals and Ferroalloys Limited and the first industrialist from Odisha to lead a national industry chamber. He's determined to further strengthen FICCI's position as the leading industry chamber, which will contribute to the India growth story in sync with PM's vision to make India a $5 trillion economy. Mr. Panda, everyone here would love to hear your vision for FLOW and possible synergies between FICCI and FLOW.
Shri Anurag Sharma, Honourable Member of Parliament, SUNIL Kant Munjal, Chairman Hero Enterprise, Jayanti Dalmia ji, President FLOW, Sudhar Shiv Kumar, President-elect FLOW, Joyshri Das Verma, incoming Senior Vice President, Office Bearers of FLOW, past Presidents, members. I'm delighted to be here for the 39th annual session. And in fact, it almost didn't happen because we had, without realizing your schedule, finalized our NECM for today, but that has fortunately got changed, and I think that speaks to the power of flow. Even as India is acknowledged as a rare bright spot, as the IMF calls it, and is expected to be the world's engine of growth going ahead, I think it would be fair to acknowledge that there is some work which needs to be done when it comes to gender parity. So let me read out some statistics which I'm sure you're all aware of, which is that 52% of women enrolled for STEM courses, but only 29% went on to join the workforce. And the World Bank study says that 43% of STEM graduates in India are women, more than advanced economies, but they comprise only 14% of scientists, engineers, and technologists. Similarly, according to the Skills Report 2023, women's participation in the workforce has decreased from 36% in 2021 to around 33% today. And while undoubtedly some of it has to do with COVID and the effects of various lockdowns, etc., but I think there is something more systemic, which is a concern about safety, lack of basic facilities, etc. And the importance of bringing about gender parity, I think, is from the reports. For the one I've picked up is a McKinsey report, which says that India can add nearly 1/5 to its economy, just short of 20%, by bridging the gender gap by enhancing female participation in the labor force. But having said that, I think there is some positive data as well. Share of funding in women-led startups has increased to 16% in 2022 from 11% the previous year. And 70% of Mudra loan beneficiaries are women. And while in general, I think the repayment record for Mudra loans is quite good, but I believe it is absolutely impeccable when it comes to women. And that is also reflected in the various self-help groups programs which is run at a national level and at various state levels. And last but not least, the latest national sample survey of a few years ago revealed that 14% of entrepreneurs in India are women. And I think all of this has been made possible by several measures taken by the government to close the gender gap and create an empowering ecosystem. And I quote the Honorable Prime Minister, who said that women empowerment is crucial to India's growth. Days of seeing women as homemakers are gone. We have to see women as nation builders. And I don't think there are any barriers now. I mean, yes, there are certainly certain, systemic issues that need to be addressed. But overall, I think a lot of glass ceilings have been shattered at a recent event on women empowerment, which was organized by a leading media house. It was wonderful to see women in combat. Women in the armed forces there, including the very first female fighter pilot, which I think was absolutely amazing to see. And women today are not just entering the armed forces in large numbers, but even actually taking up combat roles and leadership positions in the front line. We obviously know that India is the G20 president for the current year, and it is a great opportunity to showcase India and emphasize sustainable, resilient, and inclusive growth. But what this opportunity, what this year presents us, is to talk about transformative changes for women's economic empowerment, or again, as the Prime Minister puts it, shift from women's development to women-led development. So I think it is in this context that Flo has done a brilliant job. It is, of course, the Empower 20 Secretariat, but as you saw as you're all aware, I don't need to tell you that, but it was wonderful to see that film with all the activities that is being done by Flo. And there is there is an impact at grassroots when it comes to entrepreneurship and skill development, impact at the middle level in terms of helping women to set up their own businesses, and of course at senior levels, which is to promote women in leadership roles, including in boardrooms, where I think it is important to have that diversity in thought process in order for businesses to really benefit and look at how they can progress in that regard. The brief to me given by Jayanti ji was to talk about how we can integrate Flow with FICCI. And indeed, I think one of my priorities is to bring about greater integration of Flow with FICCI without, of course, impinging on your independence. I have, as I say this often, I have benefited immensely from having strong women in my life. And I think an enduring lesson is not to tell women what they can do, and more importantly, what they cannot do. So, what I recognize, and I think all of us do here, is that flow is indeed a force multiplier, which has done FICCI very well in terms of enhancing FICCI's image, in terms of helping us cross boundaries, and that is something that I look forward to. So go forth and conquer. And I think the only ask from our side is to keep in mind that we are all custodians of the FICCI brand. And clearly, there are certain best practices which which are integrals to a chamber's functioning. So that apart, that being said, it is not for us to say what you can or can't do, but really go forth and conquer, as I said. But not to leave it in generic terms, but to talk about some specific action points. When I was reading up a brief update on flow, I think one point which stood out was the Gender Parity Index 2.0, which I believe is being released or has been released, which was last done in 2017, and an update of that is being released today. I think that's a wonderful, that will throw up some very interesting data which will be useful. And I would, I would suggest that it is something which can perhaps be done even more frequently, as that will give a lot of data which is relevant and show where we are making progress and which are the areas where more needs to be done. I had a brief opportunity prior to coming up here to interact with your Dr. Aarti Gupta, who heads your startup cell, and this is something which ties in very well with one of my priorities for my tenure as president this year, which is to socialize startups. Our startup members with our brick and mortar members, if I can put it that way, because it is a two-way street where startups can benefit from mentoring, from market access, perhaps from funding, and equally, I think our regular members can benefit from access to disruptive ideas. That is something that we're working on, and I would definitely invite Flow Startup Cell to work alongside us and be an integral part of taking this forward. Similarly, one of the other priorities that I'm working on this year is an SME study focused on digitalization and sustainability. Digitalization is, of course, important in terms of achieving efficiencies, in terms of ease of doing business, and sustainability is relevant because when we talk about all the climate change objectives, etc., that have to be achieved, it can't be just large corporates who look at sustainability. It is the entire value chain, the entire ecosystem needs to work in that regard. And clearly, the larger companies know what needs to be done or the right consultants to go to. But SMEs will need handholding, and that is where FICCI, with its large membership base and outreach, is something that can help. And given that 20% of MSMEs are owned by women, the idea from this study is not to find out where are the gaps, but actually to devise interventions which can make a difference. And given that, as I said, 20% of MSMEs are owned by women, we will certainly work with FICCI with Flow closely to devise specific interventions directed at women-owned SMEs. And I think it is safe to say that while digitalization is an enabler and a great equalizer, but digital literacy and access is imperative, and that is where I think Flow and FICCI working together can make a very big difference. And last but not least, what I would really look forward to is greater coordination related to and participation in various programs. And certainly we will get both secretariats to talk to each other more frequently so that you're aware of our programs and get an opportunity to participate. I've already done that this year in the 3 months that I've been in the hot seat, in terms of ensuring that Flow is represented in some of the more important programs that we have had, and we will make sure that that spirit continues. So with these words, thank you for having me here, and my best wishes to Jayanti Dalmia ji on what has obviously been a very fulfilling tenure. And may I also take this opportunity to wish Shiv Kumar ji, a very, very heartiest congratulations on coming in as the next president of national president of FLOW. You will certainly have my full support and that of FICCI, and wish you great things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Panda, for your insights. This year, FLOW has played a pivotal role in talking about inclusivity. For that, we also have the FLOW Excellence Awards for Inclusivity. I invite Pooja Chauhan, Joint Treasurer Member of FLOW, to take over.
Thank you, Darshi. Last year, when our national president, Mrs. Jayanti Dalmia, took over, she envisioned this her year dedicated to inclusivity of the specially abled in all the outreach programs. With immense support from all chapters, FLOW and by-FLOW members, much work has been done in this area. I would request Mrs. Jayanti Dalmia to share her thoughts on the journey and significance of the FLOW Awards of Excellency for Inclusivity.
Ayam Nija Paro Veti Ganana Lagu Chetasam Udara Charitanam. This is mine, that is his. Say this. The wise believe that the entire world is a family. And we all know Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the all-inclusive core value of Indian civilization, says that the distinction is made only by the narrow-minded, the ignorant who are in duality. For those of noble conduct who know the supreme truth, the whole world is one family. My tryst with inclusivity started when I realized that there was little awareness and provision for inclusion of neurodiverse children in school and in the stream of living life. And my journey is marked with positive stories of individuals who have broken the barriers of disability, have proven that this is not an obstacle. This is a personal journey of optimism, hope, and of a shared intent of enabling a world where we are all equal with all our differences, where we can finally be united in diversity. The biggest barrier for people with disability is how we see them, how the society sees them, not they themselves. With the FLOW Excellence in Inclusion, I want to share this hope with each one of us present here and the stories of our champions who bear testimony to the fact that disability is a mindset. Our awardees today exemplify the spirit of inclusion and make a dramatic shift in the way we persons with disabilities are viewed. The objective of the awards are not to glorify the success of the disabled or the success of someone who is working towards the inclusion, but to point out loud and clear that disability inclusion is not because we need to do something for the disabled, but it is an obligation for the sustained growth of our nation at large. This year, I have worked along with my team towards the inclusion of the specially abled under our exclusive national initiative, the FLOW Differently Abled Cell. The objective of this cell was to create awareness, sensitization, and facilitate the inclusion in Atmanirbhar Bharat's growth story. Inclusion is not about having pity or taking care of someone from a sympathy perspective. Inclusion means good business sense, innovation, and embracing that part of the society which has been excluded. Please join me in congratulating and applauding each one of our awardees in being our champions of inclusivity, innovation, and impact. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jayanti, for your insight. May I now request Mr. Sunil Kant Munjal Mr. Anurag Sharma, Mr. Surpakant Panda, Mr. Sailesh Pathak, and our National President, Ms. Jayanti Dalmia, to please felicitate the awardees. The process of judging for the Flow Awards of Excellency for Inclusivity was done through data collected and evaluated by distinguished jury members. And even though each story moved them tremendously, the dedication and bravery of today's awardees has stirred emotions and touched our hearts deeply. We would be starting the awards with the Excellence Awards in individual categories. May I please request the IT team to start playing the audiovisual? Known as the fastest woman on a wheelchair, determined and confident, Miss Malti Krishnamurthy Hola was paralyzed by polio when she was 1 year old. Electric shock treatment for more than 2 years improved her upper body strength. Having won over 389 gold medals, 27 silver medals, and 5 bronze medals, Ms. Malti was conferred the prestigious Arjuna and Padma Shri Awards. Having undergone 34 surgeries, Malti works as a manager in syndicate band and shelters 16 children with various disabilities at Matru Foundation, a charitable trust formed along with her friends. A strong fighter, she believes in reinventing herself and learning new things every day, and believes that the only disability in someone can be an inferiority complex. Please put your hands together for Ms. Malti Krishnamurthy Hola. Congratulations.
ऐसे करके भैया सेंटर में yes please sir please
Heartiest congratulations. Take the award. She was the youngest elected blind female sarpanch in the country at an age of 20 years of Chanda village in Anand district, Gujarat. She also holds a post-graduation in law. She now works as a project coordinator in a private trust in Anand that works to help children with physical disabilities. She has conducted rehabilitation projects in around 85 villages of Pettar Taluka. She has also taught disabled students under a state-sponsored program for inclusive education. She has received various national and international recognitions for her work, including Outstanding Woman Panchayat Leader Award from the Institute of Social Science, New Delhi. Please put your hands together to welcome this outstanding lady, Sudha, who proves to the world that I am possible in the world impossible to receive the award. Heartiest
please sir
Heartiest congratulations, Sudhaji.
sir please
The next award. A girl of 24 with hearing impairment Born into a family where her parents and siblings were also deaf, she has the spirit to raise like a phoenix with her emotional and enormous zeal for life. She has an aptitude for modeling and has dabbled into photography and traveling too. She has won Miss India Starlight and Miss Deaf Asia. Watch out in the coming times for this wonderful young lady carving a niche in modeling world. Please welcome Varsha Dongre to receive the Award of Excellence for the way she has shown the world that dreams are only to be achieved. Congratulations.
You should get a photograph of the audience waving. पीछे ये फोटो देखिए इसीलिए she can't hear anything. तभी हम ऐसे कर रहे हैं. Yes. She can't.
सेंटर में प्लीज कम क्लोज यस प्लीज
Hello.
Hello everyone, can you all see? Yes, my name is Varsha and my name is this, Varsha Dongre. And my sign name is this, just remember, this is my sign name. Thank you so much to the organizers and National Flow President, Madam Jayanti. Thank you so much for this such a completely accessible event. And I was hoping so much, and I want to thank Neetu ma'am equally because she's a motherly figure to me. I went to South Africa. It was very difficult for me financially and emotionally, but she was the one to motivate me all the time. And whenever I have asked for anything, she has been so supportive. Whatever I wanted, I was in need of. She is a motherly figure to me. Thank you so much, Neetu ma'am. And this event is so beautiful that all the diverse people are here, and the environment is so disabled friendly here. I would like to say that first I was Miss Deaf MP in 2018. I won Miss Deaf MP competition, and I want to thank my father, late father mine. He was the one to motivate me all the time to. I was too young. I was just 17 that time, and I was 17 and my father died. It was heartbreaking for all our family. All of our family is deaf. My parents are deaf. My sister, me, myself, all of our 4 people. And my mom is not that educated. She was from a very rural area and not educated. My father was handling the family and he was the one. But after he was gone, I was feeling responsible for the family because I was the elder one. I was educated, and there were people in the family also who were very negative towards my field, my interest. But I kept on my confidence. I thought that no, I'll prove myself. Being a good girl, I'll still be in the field of modeling. And then I was the winner for Miss Deaf India competition. Also, it was held in Jaipur. There were people with negative thoughts, negative comments again and again because the field is not really respectable. But then, when I was the winner of Miss Deaf India, I was waiting to participate at the international level, but there was no support that time, and I was the only one. And my visas were rejected 5 times. My visa was rejected to represent myself at the international level. And after 5 years, during Corona, I really didn't want to give up on that. Then I thought, why not I should compete in the normal hearing world. So I was the only one for the first time. I approached Starlight Miss India contest that I am deaf and I want to participate, but they were very hopeless for that it has never been done earlier in the history because it was only for the normal hearing girls. So I said, you speak a different language, I speak a different language, I'll have an interpreter. So what's the problem in that? So I'm very confident. I want to participate and I want to prove myself. But this was always there. But then, and also if you people have any doubts, if you learn sign language, we can directly talk to each other very easily. It's just about language. We should not think that it is impossible or it is not possible. So in the competition in Agra, in Starlight Miss India competition with the normal hearing girls, it is to share that I stood first again, and within the thousands of models, and then short selected 45, I was the one.
Great.
And then I also have represented myself in South Africa, and I was in South Africa. I had won Miss Deaf Asia title and also international runner-up for Miss Deaf International. So I just want to say one thing: if we have challenges or if there are acid attackers, there are women who have been raped, we should not feel that it is our fault. We should continue because it is fault of others who do the wrong deeds, not us. So, like for example, I've got Neetu ma'am with me. You will have your people who will support you all the time. So just be confident.
Thank you.
And
Thank
stay
you
the
so
same
much.
way.
Thank you so much. And Varsha ji, we want to tell you that each one of you is extremely proud of you. Thank you for sharing your journey. Moving on to the next awardee. A visually impaired girl and yet an ace classical singer, composer and a keyboard player. She's also authored a couple of books, Zindagi Ke Do Pehlu and Is Love an Illusion. She has defied the rules of nature through her accomplishments. She has been showing the way forward for the deprived and leading a meaningful life. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Avni Rathi to receive the Award of Excellence. We are joined together by parents of Miss Avni and Miss Aparna Sahu, the mentor of Avni, who is also her master. Congratulations. Avni, if you want to speak, can we have a portable mic, please? Thank you.
Good afternoon to all the distinguished dignitaries and my lovely audience. I would like to begin by extending my gratitude to FICCI Flow for presenting me with this esteemed award. Life in itself is a challenge. We all have taken up the task of taking it as it comes and figuring out solutions to make it easier. Therefore, we all are conquerors in our own way. School is a primary and a very crucial stage of an individual's life. I switched from two blind schools to a normal one where I finally found a sense of belonging. My parents thought that being in the special schools would make me independent and pave the way for my overall development, but that never happened. Whereas studying with sighted people gave me a lot of exposure. Having undergone both these transitions, I feel that there should be a single school for all kinds of children where there is an inclusive environment and a casual approach towards normal and specially able. Performing day-to-day tasks associated with the routine is not less than a challenge for someone who lacks vision. One of the significant tasks of the routine is walking on the road. Hindrance of stray animals while walking and not knowing the direction to escape becomes scary. When you unknowingly step onto a dirty patch of the road, it's annoying. And during the rainy season, there are chances of getting stuck into the wet soil. As a citizen of India, I feel that the government needs to be sensitive about these issues. The beauty of embarking on a journey or life is that it makes you experience moments to be cherished for a lifetime. One such moment in my life was meeting Amitabh Bachchan sir on the sets of KBC. He gently held my hand and said, "Hi, मैं Amitabh, how are you?" I said that I follow him on social media, and out of nowhere, he said, "Oh, I'll follow you back." I felt that he must have said this casually and therefore didn't pay much attention to his words. But next day, I got a notification saying, "Amitabh Bachchan, 39 million followers, follows you." Facebook and Twitter are the platforms where I received a follow back. But to my astonishment, I was the only one to be followed by him on Facebook out of 39 million people. I was trying to take this all in, but then he surprised me by writing a blog describing how he felt after meeting me. I was at a loss of words and found myself shedding tears of joy for the first time. They say that fortune smiles at you, and it did, in the form of Amitji, an irreplaceable person in my life. This is how I would like to sum up. Thank you all for being a wonderful audience.
Thank you so much, Auntie. We're proud of you. Our next category for awards is the NGO category, working for the rehabilitation of specially able. A name that is synonymous with disability sector. She's an educationist, social worker, rehabilitation professional, and sportswoman. A multifaceted personality has been doing works, service, and capacity building of trainers, teachers, resources for special education and therapeutic services. Running a special school, skill development and training, medical care and community development and rehabilitation. Her contribution in the disability sector has earned her several accolades. She is the recipient of Padma Shri, Helen Keller Award, amongst many others. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the mother figure in disability sector, Dr. Uma Tuli of Amar Jyoti Trust, to receive the Award of Excellence for Inclusivity. Heartiest congratulations, ma'am. Will you please clap louder, cheer louder?
Please come.
Friends, today, FICCI and Flo have proved that disability is not inability. By these awards and the way every awardee has spoken today, we all know that the barrier is actually in our minds. When we started under a tree with 30 children, 15 with disability and 15 without disability, everyone thought that I'm mad. This can never happen. But today, the awards prove that it has happened, and inclusion is the ultimate manner. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Oman. Heartiest congratulations. Her mantra is hire youth with disability as it helps your business. She has created unparalleled impact all over the country in the lives of the persons with disabilities in skilling educated and less educated youth. She has been working with 1,100 companies pan-India. The work has touched 9.8 million households and benefited 480,000 youth with disabilities. She has won several national and international awards. The Honorable Prime Minister mentioned her work in the popular Man Ki Baat. She also works with the Artists and Disability and holds the Inspirational Global Ability Photography Challenge every year. Please put your hands together to welcome Ms. Meera Shenoy of Youth for Jobs Foundation to receive the Award of Excellence and Inclusivity for outstanding and inspirational achievement. Heartiest congratulations.
Sir, please, sir.
Thank you, Flo, for the amazing people you have chosen. Those who spoken before me, and like this Umar Tuli is really a legend in this space. I think now you can understand why people like me work 24/7 to make sure that their abilities are recognized and they get jobs in companies and in the MSME sector, which is the new sector we are opening up. I'm also happy to tell all of you that if any of you have a sister, brother, neighbor's kid, poor, rich, we've set up India's first Atmanirbhar AI-triggered accessible job platform for persons with disability, which is called Swaraj Ability. Swaraj because of the Guardian word of independence, and ability because we leverage the ability of all these, very inspiring people who you met. So please do that so that we can make sure that as the government has passed an amazing policy, the rights of the persons with disability says every person with disability has a right to education and employment. That's passed by the present government, sir. So I think all of us, our muscles are strengthened by your policy, and we can boldly tell, I'm looking at your side, that all of you must hire youth with disabilities because it helps your business. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Moving on. She's been working towards an equitable society for every citizen with disability. Headquartered in Chennai, her NGO has established itself as a national cross-disability umbrella organization that has consistently empowered them through trailblazing initiatives. They engage in a range of activities from publishing, employment, media, and culture to implementation of policy, legislation, and human rights. She also held several positions in policy making, like the chairperson of the Task Force for Promotion of Vocational Education and Skill Development among Persons with Disabilities. She is the recipient of several awards, including the National Award from the President of India. Please welcome Ms. Jayashree Ravindran of Ability Foundation to receive the Award of Excellence for Inclusivity. Heartiest congratulations. Thank you, Sudhaji and Jayashree also for joining us. May we please big round of applause for her.
Very much. I really value this. It's an honor. And thank you for permitting Monica Punjabi to come up on stage to sign for everyone. It's not just a signing for a deaf person, but this is what we call is inclusive and accessible India. Each one of us must be aware that this doesn't have a right there. everything else adds to access. We have a very short word called TAB in the disability sector, which translates to temporarily able body. Each and every one of us, every human being born unto earth is temporarily able body. And one day, with time, each one of us will acquire a disability. And therefore, when you prepare society for a person with disability, you're actually preparing society for every citizen of the country.
Well said.
I hope we all look forward from this moment to today. Just ask yourself one question: what would you need if you were me? And answer that question. You'll find the answer. Thank you again.
Therapy centers are available in every nook and corner of the metros. But a French social worker, Dominique Dufault, started a therapy unit in the interiors of Himachal Pradesh. The center works towards skilling the children with orthopedic impairment, cerebral palsy, intellectual disabilities, autism, spectrum disorders, speech and hearing impairment, developmental delays, sensory processing disorders. The center has given hope and direction to 700 plus families of children with special needs. This touching gesture inspires us all to look at the countryside to build resources and necessary infrastructure. Though today's award session has focused on organizations and role models who have done outstanding work in economic empowerment, we have chosen them for its sheer commitment in touching the clueless parents of the special children in rural areas. Please welcome Ms. Divya Rana of Handi Machal Therapy Unit to receive the Award of Excellence for their outstanding and impactful work. Heartiest congratulations. So much, Divya. They are serving people with cross disabilities since 1992, founded by Dr. Rajendra Johar after this NGO aims at building and nurturing capacities of disabled persons. They strive to improve the quality of life of people with disabilities and assist them in becoming self-reliant. They develop versatile programs towards economic independence of the beneficiaries. Some of their unique initiatives are Beyond Limits, Apna Rozgar Scheme, Gyanpad, and newspaper pencils, which created great impact. Please welcome Ms. Preeti Johar of Family of Disabled to receive the Award of Excellence for Inclusivity. Heartiest congratulations.
Sir, please, sir. Look here, please. Ma'am, please.
I would like to thank FICCI FLO, Tanya ma'am, Turi ma'am, Reena ji, who gave us this opportunity, who have selected the organization for the work that we have been doing. It was founded by my father, who was bedridden for 32 years. And because he was told that he cannot do anything in his life, he decided to assess his disability on his own parameters. And this is where we are today. We don't have him amongst us now. We lost him in 2018, but we are carrying forward his legacy. We are into self-employment of people with disabilities. So when we talk about employment, there are many, many people who are not educated, who will never get any job opportunity with the corporate or PSUs or any other sector. So we are working mainly for self-employment of people with disabilities.
Thank you so much, Preeti. Move on to our last category of awards, the corporate sector. Here's a young girl who just passed out of college with no connection whatsoever with disability sector, came out with an idea, and her initiative has 3 verticals in a chain of restaurants, gifting solutions, and experiential training for persons with special needs. She has created a robust and self-sustaining system wherein the persons with special needs from marginalized society are offered training and skill development to lead a life with dignity and economic independence. Flow Amritsar chapter is in collaboration with her and started a cafe very recently. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome the team of Mitti Cafe. Social Initiative Foundation to receive the award on behalf of Alina Alam. Ms. Aisha Alam, sister of Ms. Alina Alam, is here to receive the honor. And we have some very, very confident. Please give a round of applause. Just look at this. Welcome to the Mitti Cafe. And this is truly a way to see how they've integrated it so beautifully.
Good afternoon to all the dignitaries and everyone present here. At the onset, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Jayanti ma'am for being a beacon of light towards path of inclusion. I would like to especially mention Shikha Sareen for her enthusiasm and with the FICCI Flows Connect, we have been able to open a cafe at Amritsar. Our second cafe, and currently we just post forum mall we opened 2 more, so we are currently standing at a total of 34 cafes with 300 plus persons with physical, mental, psychiatric disabilities working across the cafes. We train over 4,000 persons with physical, mental, and psychiatric disability, out of which 56% happen to be women. I would also like to thank Ms. Bella Bhadalia for introducing us to this wonderful network. There are many stories which has built Mitti and which keeps us going. I would like to share 2 of them. One is how Mitti happened, how it started. So, do any of y'all know who Nero is? I won't take the answer from here because that's anyone from across the dais knows who Nero is. Yes. So Alina was, who also happens to be my younger sibling. She was all of 23 years sitting in a classroom waiting for placement, and her professor showed her this documentary on Nero. So Nero was this mighty, rich emperor of the Roman Empire, winning one battle after the other, and one day he wins the biggest battle of his life. And what does one do when they win? When they win, they party, celebrate. So he decided to, party, and he called the who's who of Tinseltown, kings and queens, princes and princesses, and they were having a ball of a lifetime. And evening befell, and they needed light. So there was no electricity as we have today. So what did Nero decide to do? He decided to burn the prisoners of war who he considered no more than waste. And, and as that continued and the party continued, they were all making merry while these people were burning. And that is when Alina, that is what, I don't know how she must have felt, because every time, I have heard the story multiple times over and over and over again, and every time I just feel the same way. So she said that, I just felt that I am one of, who is more responsible? We always have Neros in this world, but it is Nero's guests. The guests who was sitting there doing nothing about it. So if you feel about something and you decide to do nothing about it, then you have taken a side of the oppressor. So that is the day when she decided that she does not want to be one of Nero's guests, and that is how Mitti Cafe came into being. Which brings me to our second story of our employees, the most important part of Mitti's existence. Our first employee, Kirti, came crawling for the interview because her parents could not afford a wheelchair. Today, the same girl sits on her wheelchair at our cafe at Platinum City at Pina. She shifted from Hubli with her entire family to Bangalore, and she manages 10 other people sitting on her wheelchair, which she told us that she wants to purchase her first salary. So that is today we have over 300 PCs. We have Bhairappa, who's got dwarfism. He was rejected at 80 job fairs for persons with disability, after which we got lucky. And when he joined us, he did not know the concept of brushing his teeth or wearing shoes. He comes from, he had zero education. And we have a photograph of him with Mr. Narayan Murthy of Infosys, where we have not cropped that photo because he's not wearing his shoes there. Today he is the team lead, again managing 10 to 12 other people with him, and he will also believe, with people telling him that he will never find love. But Cupid did strike at Mitti Cafe. He met Rupa at a catering event. Rupa was from another cafe. They met at one of the catering events, and they are happily married. So now both of them are at the airport, at the Bangalore airport, where we have 2 cafes. And the last, one of my favorite incidents is of Hemant, who was cerebral palsy. So one of our verticals is Karuna Meals, where we have, since COVID, we have served over 4 million meals and counting. So it started with Hemant coming up to us and saying a very simple one-line statement, "Log bhuke hain, humko khana banana aata hai." That was just a one very simple line, and from where we started with serving 3,000 meals at Bangalore. We started 300 meals at Kolkata, and that 3,000 and 300 meals has converted to 4 million meals in counting. So the issue is large, the hope is larger. The community participation makes us believe that we are definitely inching towards an inclusive world.
Thank you, Aisha, for those beautiful words. Moving on to our last award. They employ persons with various disabilities and have been integrating them into their core hospitality activities successfully. They have been hiring employees with disabilities for 15 years through a network of 87 hotels in 53 destinations. There are 350 employees with disability and 300 economically and socially marginalized employees, making it over 10% of the total employees. And the goal is to take this to 30% for the financial year 2025-26. There are employees with Down syndrome, autism, visually impaired, low vision, speech and hearing impaired, and orthopedically handicapped. Please welcome Ms. Aradhana Lal, Senior Vice President, Sustainability and ESG, on behalf of Lemon Tree Hotels, to receive the Award of Excellence for such an exemplary lead in inclusivity in the corporate world. Heartiest congratulations.
been to a lemon tree or stayed in a lemon tree. Fabulous. I don't need to do any more selling at all. But really, this work has been an eye-opener. It's been 15 years. Many of our partners are here. I see Meera Shenoy right here. What we have learned is that if we can open up our minds, taking care of the job description, taking care of the standard operating procedure, taking care of training, handling conflict, helping them with their performance appraisals, all of this is part of everyday work. And the way in which we've integrated all the people that were mentioned right now, the different types of disability, has been as a part of our business model. It's the way we do business. So you'll see them at our front desk, our coffee shop, housekeeping, engineering, finance, HR, and you will see them with all these different disabilities. We were talking about Indian Sign Language a little while ago. She talked about it there. I want to tell you, we have our total employees in the company are 6,500, and all of us know Indian Sign Language. So we know Hindi, know English, we know Indian Sign Language. So come talk to us anytime. And thank you very much, Vicky. Thank you very much, Flo, for being for this award today for our organization. And come and stay at Lemon Tree.
Thank you so much, and heartiest congratulations. I've just been reminded by Jayanti ji that I think, Malti ji, we forgot to ask you to speak. It would be lovely if you could just share a few words, and we can get a mic for you here. Yeah. If that would be easier.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have only 2 sentences to say that. First of all, thank you so much, Vicky Flo, for honoring me with this beautiful award. I'm a proud mother of 53 children. I dedicate this award to all my little angels who can live with the determination, confidence, and inspiration to look up to their lives. Secondly, according to me, each and every human being in this world are disabled. Some are visible like us, some are not. That's all I can say that. And thirdly, we should be proud of our womanhood. Without men, we women are incomplete. Without men, we women are incomplete. And without women, the entire universe is incomplete. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Beautiful words. Could I also request Ms. Sudha Patel if she wants to speak a few words? If it's convenient, we can, yes. I think, but it would be nicer if the ma'am can come up so that everyone can see. You can speak from here, sir, if you want.
Thank you so much to give me award. आप लोगों ने फिकी फ्लो ने मुझे अवार्ड देने के लिए चूज किया, इसके लिए मैं पैनल ऑफ ज्यूरी जयंती मैम और आप सबकी आभारी हूँ। मैंने अपने आप को पहला वोट अपने को दिया था। 21 साल की एज में मैं सरपंच बन गई। गांव वालों ने मुझे सरपंच के रूप में चूज किया। वो बड़ी बात होती है, सबसे बड़ा इंक्लूजन वही होता है कि जो गांव वाले एक ब्लाइंड लड़की को सरपंच के रूप में अपने मुखिया के रूप में चुन ले। तो जो काम भगवान मुझे देता है वो मैं बखूबी निभाने की कोशिश करती हूँ, क्योंकि जो काम देता है वो जीरो से देता है, मैं उसको आगे बढ़ाती हूँ। मैं एक बिजनेस वूमन हूँ। पतंजलि चिकित्सालय 2.5 साल के बाद बाबा रामदेव ने मुझे वो चिकित्सालय दिया जो अच्छे से है, क्योंकि वो लोग सोच रहे थे कि मैं ब्लाइंड हूँ, बिजनेस कैसे करूंगी, स्टाफ को कैसे संभालूंगी, पूरे स्टॉक मैनेज कैसे करूंगी, वर्क कैसे करूंगी, बिल कैसे बनाऊंगी, मॉडर्न जो बिजनेस पॉलिसीज होती है जैसे QR कोड, ATM, क्रेडिट कार्ड, सबसे पेमेंट लेना देना, सब स्टाफ से सब कुछ होता है। मैं नेशनल एसोसिएशन फॉर द ब्लाइंड डिस्ट्रिक्ट ब्रांच की जनरल सेक्रेटरी हूँ और सेतु ट्रस्ट की भी जनरल सेक्रेटरी हूँ। मेरा एम है डिसेबल बच्चों को एजुकेट करना और इनको हजारों लोगों को एम्प्लॉयमेंट देने की मेरी एम है। इनके लिए कुछ काम करूं और फिर मैं इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन में स्पेशल टीचर हूँ। मैं 24 साल से ब्लाइंड, डिसेबल, ऑर्थोपेडिकली हैंडीकैप, मेंटली रिटार्डेड, हियरिंग इम्पेयर्ड बच्चों के साथ काम करती हूँ। मैंने ये सर्वे के लिए 600 स्कूल अपने आप विजिट किए थे। मेरी सिस्टर भी ब्लाइंड है, मेरे हस्बैंड भी यहाँ सतीश भाई उपस्थित है। तो आप लोगों ने जब मुझे अमेरिका में अवार्ड मिला तब जितना जितना मुझे अवार्ड मिलता गया मैं ऐसा सोचती रही कि आगे मुझे और भी काम करने हैं। मैं सबको यही बोलना चाहती हूँ, रुओ नहीं मजबूरियों पर, रुओ नहीं मजबूरियों पर, है जिंदगी में स्वर्ग ही स्वर्ग। आंख नहीं तो क्या हुआ, कोई अंग नहीं तो क्या हुआ, समस्त विश्व मेरा घर। थैंक यू सो मच।
That brings us to the end of the Inclusivity Award. I extend my gratitude to all the guests for felicitating the awardees, and to all the awardees from the FICCI and FICCI Flow family. You truly inspire all of us. Our heartiest congratulations once again. I hand over the dice to Tashi again.
Thank you, Pooja. Congratulations to all others and wish you all the very best in your future endeavors. I would like to now invite the members on the dais to please unveil the Gender Parity Index 2.0 and the Flow Annual Report 22-23. In 2017, under Vinita Bimbe, Flow wanted to take serious steps in generating greater awareness in Indian industry and government about the lack of participation of women in workforce. The Gender Parity Report of 2017 raised concerns, and this year Flow has made an attempt to revise the GPI and reassess whether the status has changed in favor for women in corporate India. This report presents the revised Gender Parity Index and makes comparisons between the first in 2017 and this to 2022 report to ascertain the changes, the growth, and document the data. GPI 2.0 is aligned to the goals and purpose of G20 Empower Initiative. A big round of applause for this. Thank you so much. Now it's time for our keynote address. We're going to be unveiling our annual report for Flow 2022 and 23. A big round of applause for this. Our chief guest for today, Mr. SUNIL Kant Munjal, needs no introduction. He's the chairperson of Hero Enterprises. He's the former president of Confederation of Indian Industry and All India Management Association and continues to be involved with them. He's been on the Prime Minister's Council on Trade and Industry. He's a member of Narhamsina Committee and scripted India's banking and financial sector reforms. He's also on the task force on indirect taxes and chartered India's first roadmap for indirect taxes. He was also a member of RBI's Commission for Labour Reforms and on the committee that defined roles for bank board members. He's a member of Executive Board of ISB. He sits on the board of DCM Shriram Escorts, Bharat Foundation, India Institute of Corporate Affairs, and on advisory boards of Coca-Cola India, Indian Angels Network Fund, and UK India Business Council. I could go on, but sir, I would now request you to please tell us a bit more about your journey and how you believe women can be part of the Indian economy.
Thank you. I got a call from Malvika some weeks ago, and I'm just wondering how and why I said yes, actually, because my default response to such requests nowadays is no. Partially because of time, partially because of travel, but I think we have often not focused enough on the much smarter half of our population. And I've said this many times to some of you who've heard me. I see many friends sitting in the audience here. I did speak with Jayanti then a few days earlier to ask what kind of address are you looking for? And my suggestion was it could be a conversation where I can ask you, what is it that concerns you, what is bothering you, and I'm more than happy to respond. Because I believe it's important that all of us converse more than we currently do. You have plenty of speeches all the time, but you take very little from a speech, a lot more from an actual conversation. So that was the reason I was suggesting this, by the way, but I understand the formality of the occasion and the time constraint. I'm actually wondering, the afternoon has been so interesting, so inspiring, that I'd like to change a little bit, if you don't mind, about what I'm going to talk about. And my first statement, it sounds like a fun statement, but it is a serious statement. And I believe the women are so much smarter than men, that they let the men now and then believe they're smarter. And I truly think that is correct, by the way. It is a fact. Because if you look around it, what is happening in the world right now? 2/3 of the work across the globe is actually done by women. And of the recorded compensation, we were talking about this a little bit earlier in the office here, 10% of recorded compensation is paid to women. So we don't need to think about this. What is going on? And for us as a nation, first, of course, it's important for us as a universe, as a world, as people, as communities. But India is so wonderfully positioned right now for growth. It begs the question, what are the levers that we need to press for us to catapult ourselves to the next phase of growth? There are clearly 2 or 3 available right now. One is this wall of technology that is coming at us, which creates strong emotions, but mixed emotions. It creates a lot of apprehension. And I think it's important that we learn to embrace technology, not be scared by it. Of course, be cautious in how we adopt it, how we use it, how it becomes a tool for creating a more level playing field for everyone, including for the differently able. Technology has some wonderful tools that are now available. And we try to use some of them ourselves in some of our institutions and organizations. An annual event is actually a good time to do some reflection. So we saw the year, which has been a super busy year for FICCI Flow, and I'm sure especially for Jayanti, who's tried to get to 19 different places. And it's also time for us to think about what is it that we could not do? What is it we would like to change? It's like a birthday. Why do we spend time? We do some prayer, all of us do a little bit of reflection. I think that's the important bit. To use this as an occasion to coach and train ourselves to move forward in a much more holistic fashion than we have been doing earlier. Now, there are some, as I said, superbly inspiring stories that we heard right now. I'm talking about all of us in general right now. I don't think we display enough sensibility and or sensitivity. So what we started doing, I'm sure some of you are aware that our foundation runs a festival called the Serendipity Arts Festival in Goa every December. Some of you, I see Anjana ji here, who's been an active participant. I see some of you who have been there. May I actually ask by a show of hands, how many of you are aware of this festival, or how many of you have been there? Okay, we have to change this. I'm sorry, this is not okay. It is truly one of the largest interdisciplinary arts festivals in the world right now. Would that be correct? And we have people coming from 40 countries to sit in a hall in Delhi and to have people who have not been and not heard of it or not been, something's wrong with our communication, or I think we need to reflect a little bit again. So what we do at the festival every morning is that for 2 hours before the festival opens, we bring busloads of street children, of kids from orphanages, young girls, transgender communities, deaf, blind and mute visitors, elderly from the care homes, and those with learning disabilities. And they're all taken around on curated walks around the festival. All important visual arts pieces of the festival have tactile maquettes available where you can touch and feel what a work of art might look like. And we have attempted to be both accessible and inclusive and sensitive in how we actually handle this. We've been doing this actually from the year one when the festival started in 2016. And it's a rewarding experience when you're able to engage with more and more, when you're able to involve more and more people. And it's not just for them as visitors. Lots of them come in as artists, as we just heard right here. Lots of them come in as artisans. We've had dance performances done on the wheelchairs. And incidentally, we have anywhere from 14 to 18 venues. All of them have wheelchair access. All important events have sign language announcements made concurrently along with any other announcement. I'm not saying this to show off. I'm just saying that it is possible for us to do this at both big and small events, to turn this into an integral part of our lives. We're now building a more permanent establishment here in Delhi, which will in itself be a unique, probably the only place in the world where every part of the entire ecosystem of every art form will coexist on one campus. This is currently under construction right now, and hopefully over the next few years, you will all be able to come in and participate. And we are trying to map every journey of a visitor, of somebody who comes to clean the place, somebody who's a technologist, an artist, a curators, because we are going to have every kind of activity there. Our attempt is to look at the historical perspective through museums, the current and contemporary through galleries, studios, theaters, and the like, and the future through tech labs, innovation labs, an incubator for startups which are focused on arts and culture. Because please remember, we inherited probably the richest cultural heritage in the world. I don't know of any 5 or 10 countries put together which got what we did. So we do have a responsibility, exactly like we talk about sustainability and the planet. We've actually inherited it from our children, not from our elders. We are trustees. I was reading there Mahatma Gandhi's statement for business. So it is as citizens. So it is as members of the planet. We are trustees of the future of our culture. If we can enhance it, enhance what we inherited and pass it along, that would be wonderful. But if we can't, at least let's not large parts of it get destroyed and just vanish. So that is truly what is happening right now. Tasra did a report some years ago. Some of you may be familiar with this, that in the last 30 years, this report was done about 5 years ago. We've lost 30% of our cultural heritage. For me, it was both shocking and a real shame. So we've actually been doing this for a while because the Serendipity Arts Foundation was only set up about 9 or 10 years ago. The festival only started in 2016 in Ludhiana, which we still call our hometown, even though none of us in the immediate family lives there now. We set up Performing Arts Foundation 25 years ago, and which is probably even today one of the more active such foundations across the country, focused on all kinds of performing arts, including the workshops. And so the idea is not just to show, but to engage. So each of these places we run conferences, conclave, conversations, and workshops. So you could actually go and work with a potter, you could go with a penny maker, because we also look at food as an art form. So when I say all art forms, I genuinely mean all art forms. So it's all visual arts, all performing arts, all culinary arts, and performance arts as distinct from performing arts. I will go back a little bit in history since I was asked especially to talk about myself, which frankly I don't like to do. But I was quite fortunate that from a young age, we've had senior artists like Pandit Ravi Shankar, Allah Rakha, come and perform literally at home, in our home. So part of that exposure, part of the exposure I think I got at school, I got engaged and interested in the arts. So I actually started collecting art when I was in class 9 in school with saved pocket money. As all of you can imagine, there was not a lot of pocket money in those days. But the interesting thing was the culture that existed. You know, there were literally only 1.5 galleries in those days in Delhi. You could go and look at a piece of art and say, I like this, and I don't have the money for it. You know what the response used to be? Le jao, you can pay for it when you can. There was not an EMI attached to it. It was just the trust and faith that if you take something, you will pay for it. You will do the right thing. So our responsibility towards our fellow citizens, I think, is an important one, again, which we need to think a little bit about. And I cannot imagine in today's world, any of us going to a gallery and taking a piece of art and walking away and saying, I'll pay for it when I can. You think it's even imaginable today. So what are we doing to ourselves? Because this is an environment, this is a culture that we are making. It is of our own making. So let's do a little bit of introspection about this. And again, after school and college, I was lucky to get training in some of our group companies. And then I got an opportunity to set up a new business. And that was a business which was completely different from what we had been doing. As you know, our earlier businesses were to manufacture bicycles, bicycle components, mopeds. And this is before we started the motorcycles. And I got to set up a spinning mill. So it was a completely different business. It was a new location. It was the first time we were going out of our comfort zone. First time we took institutional loans. And I found something fascinating. When we went out, we took a business plan, a project appraisal plan to the financial institution for funding. And the general manager of that institution, he just took that piece of paper and started cutting the numbers off from where the financials were. So I asked him, what are you doing? He said, my number ठीक कर रहा हूँ. I said, what do you mean ठीक कर रहे हो? He said, इतनी inflation तो लोग करते ही हैं पहले. You know, people inflate the numbers that they present to an institution to finance. either to, well, in simpler word, to cheat the system, or to leave room for the guy to negotiate. He will cut down, you will still have more than you actually needed. I couldn't for the life of me understand, why would people do that? If you need 10 rupees, why would you not ask for 10 rupees and spend 10 rupees? So he sat me down. He said, तुम बैठो, तुम नए नए हो, मैं तुम्हारे को बताता हूँ लोग क्या करते हैं, कैसे करते हैं. I said, I don't want to learn this actually, but why would I want to learn something which is frankly illegal, immoral, unethical, and there's nothing to do with integrity. And maybe I was being naive, but I also tried this once we set this unit up. We had a fascinating number of challenges, by the way, in setting this up. The most interesting thing that happened to us was the week in which we started this was also the week in which the big Datta Samant strike started in India and all the textile mills. Some of you may remember, some of you here are very young, you may not be aware, but India had a crippling strike in all the major textile mills, starting from Bombay, what was then called Bombay, then went on to Ahmedabad, and all the major textile mills. So we had this superb, and I believe it was the best spinning plant at that time set up in the country, with no customer. And the department that had promised us power could not get the substation up on time, so we were running on generators. So in any respect, the cost went up, and you had a business with no customer. So we said we have two choices. One is to give up. Two is to innovate. Let's figure out how do you make something out of this? How do you turn this into an advantage? So we became the first exporters of that kind of yarn from India. So we said, if the market here is not open, it's not the entire world that's closed down. So let's go out. So the idea was to constantly be looking for ways to improve. Also, I think I was very fortunate to grow up in a culture, to grow up in an environment, and I saw things that my dad and his brothers and the others in business were doing. I saw what was being done at home in the families by my mother and aunts and the others. So that was an interesting philosophy, because this company was, of course, a startup at some time. The Hero Cycle was started by my father and his three brothers, and there were just a couple of other people working with them. So their culture became the organization's culture, which was purely by chance. It was not a planned thing. But subsequently, we found that it worked so well that as the organization grew, as there were more and more people coming in, as there were more professionals running the organization, we turned this into documented policies and philosophies of the organization. The first one was that to understand and realize that our biggest asset is people. It is the only asset that we have which appreciates with time. Every other asset that we use, whether it's building or it's machines or it's technology, continues to depreciate. The second was to build and retain relationships over a long period of time. And that has been, I think, one of the most beneficial things that we could have done for ourselves as the organization grew. We still have people. The other day I'd gone for a dealers event at Jaipur. They were all like this, and there were a few hundred people sitting in the hall. And I was saying that this is one of our characteristics of an organization. We make relationships, we retain them for a long time. Many of you would be working with us for more than one generation. There was a young kid sitting in the front row. He kept, putting his hand up. So I asked him, what is it you want to talk about? He's saying, sir, I'm the fourth generation working with your company. So even our auditors, although now by law you cannot have the same auditor, is actually the fourth generation working with us. And I think we've learned something from that relationships at the best of times are complex. They come with their own complication. But if you learn to manage, if you learn to maneuver the difficult periods, it helps you to manage life much better. The other thing that we have attempted to do always is to focus on our environment. There's two kinds of environments. One is the environment of communities of people who live around us. So we worked right from the early days on setting up, as the companies would set up businesses, our family foundation would set up their own programs and projects anywhere we set up a business. And the areas we worked in are, we still work in education, healthcare, clean drinking water, gender issues, integrated development of villages, and arts and culture. But for each one, we set up a separate foundation. Like we tell our companies, we have the same message. Our method of running our foundations and non-profits is exactly the same as it is for running our companies. We have the same criteria, same processes, same governance models. We even use ERPs in all of our foundations. I don't know how many in India normally end up using ERPs. And we found that scale has a magical quality. So we like to do things at scale. Scale allows you to do things which you otherwise may not be able to. So that's one thing we've attempted always, is to try and build around us an environment which is facilitating, which helps others to grow as well. So one is the environment of people, and second is the environment of the ecosystem, which has become a hot topic of conversation around the globe. Sustainability is a word that you cannot get away from anywhere in the world today. So we started about 40 years ago installing plants in all our factories to manage effluents, long before it became mandatory, certainly long before it was fashionable. And the only reason was, and in fact, somebody asked my dad, "What's wrong with you? Why are you wasting money?" Ye kaun karta hai? Because in those days, it was most common, the discharge from your plating plant, from your painting plants, from brazing, whatever else you were doing in the factories, the discharge was normally going to the drains. And that was normal, by the way. And no one was objecting because everyone was doing the same thing. So which is why people ask, why are you wasting money? And the response was interesting. See, this is the water which is going down. It's not going only into the drain, it's also going into the ground. And by the way, that is where we are all drawing water to drink from. The planet is not creating segregation of who gets what water. We all get the same air and the same water. So it is our responsibility, very much like our culture, for us to leave something behind which is better than we got. At this moment, clearly not the case. So again, begs a little bit of attention and for us to think a little bit about it. And while doing this, we also said that the business has to be very, very efficient. Because if you want to give, you have to first earn. You cannot give from borrowed money. And give you must. Because that is the law of nature. We have been so fortunate and blessed. In one generation, we came from being refugees. Our family, incidentally, was amongst the millions who migrated at the time of India's independence from having their home become a foreign country overnight. And this was also the bloodiest migration that mankind had seen. So it was very unkind to humanity, but it did happen. So from there, in one generation, we were fortunate enough to build the kind of companies that we had. We restructured our businesses twice. Once in 2010, that was at my dad's generation, and then a few years later, the next generation. And both times we did this as a voluntary initiative. In fact, I had gone to my father and I said, my father and my uncle both, they both used to be around and were working. And I think we should do this. They both got really annoyed with me. I said, what's wrong with you? लोग तो example देते हैं हमारी family की. How a family lives together, everyone is friends, we work together, the companies are doing so well. I said, exactly. Who thinks of doing it at this time? Tell me. Because the examples that we see around us of bitterness, of families fighting with each other, of companies and businesses suffering, and value being destroyed, people pulling in different direction. At this moment, if you as the elders, and the culture in the family was, if the elders said something, we would say, even if you don't like it, go kar dete hain because the elders are saying so. And in this environment, everybody knows if you do something, you will do the right thing. So please make this decision for future generations. After a few weeks, both of them separately called me, 3 of them actually separately called me. And they had lots of questions. I said, this is a subject I've studied the world over. I actually lecture on this subject across the globe, incidentally, on family-owned enterprise and family-owned businesses. So I said, I can also tell you that we may like to think we are unique, but the issues to do with family-owned businesses are near identical across the globe. I've seen this in Europe, I've seen it in North America, I've seen it in South America, I've seen it in India and in Asia and in parts of Asia. The issues are almost identical. The solutions, however, are customized to each one of us. Because that's what is the local environment, the local culture, the family's needs, etc. And in that, I had a very interesting task also alongside. I was, again, as I said, I was fortunate. I got to work very closely in the corporate office, the group office and the family office for the entire group. I also worked quite closely with the elders and got a lot of input of their style, culture, and what worked, because they had worked in extreme adversity. When we started growing up, the companies were already established and some of them were doing well. Cycle, which was set up in 1956, had become the world's largest company in 1986 already. And when we restructured the group, we had 32 companies, and 7 of them were global leaders at that time. And again, as a part of the philosophy, one was to do things with humility, to understand that no one of us is fully responsible for any result and any output that you get. No success can be attributed to one individual within our organization. And we have made sure that this message is very clear to everybody. So therefore, it is also sensible to keep a low profile, talk about things that are required by compliance to be spoken about, talk about things which you have a consumer-facing business, but everything does not need to be shouted from the rooftop. So non-profits is something that we don't talk about usually. And also in our companies, many of you would have heard of Hero Cycles and what was then called Hero Honda, but you would not be aware that at that time also we had 7 companies which are global leaders. And we continue to maintain that style and that culture. So one of the charges that I had was to groom the next generation of the family. So what I started doing was discouraging them from joining the family business. I said, you first tell us, what is your passion? What is it that you like? And allow us to facilitate your getting the best exposure for that. First go and get the best education. That you have to do in any case. And then, and we were lucky, by the way. So in our family today, we have a chocolatier, we have a fashion designer, one runs universities. So we have people doing all kinds of things in the next generation. But if you want to come back and join the family business, we have 2 or 3 requirements of you. And by the way, this was the same whether they were boys or girls. I tried to make no distinction between any of them. I have one daughter myself, and I know that she's super bright. She's certainly brighter than I am. In any case, every next generation gets more exposure than we have. This is a natural phenomenon. And today's young generations have such an amazing access to what is available out there that we can never hope to match. And for them, a lot of this is self-evident truth because they're born with this. I've seen my wife sometimes ask her granddaughter that, "Ye remote nahi chal raha, TV ka, can you fix this?" And it takes her literally 10 seconds to fix it. So these kids are growing with technology. For them, this is second nature. So one feature, as I said, was to not make distinction between boys and girls. And second is to open up every and any opportunity where their passion lies. Because my belief is, if you can turn your passion into your profession, there is no better life available. So for myself, for example, about 10 or 12 years ago, I took a decision. I said, I'm only going to do things that I enjoy. Because we have the fortune to be able to say yes or no to things, preferably with people. And just, if you're able to do these things, it doesn't seem like work at all. There is no, people ask me, why are you working so much? Why do you travel so much? I said, because I'm having fun. That's what I enjoy and that's what I do. And I do believe if we can start doing things that we enjoy. So there are two options. Either pick the profession that you enjoy or start loving whatever it is you do. So that will make life easier. Because there are two things that we do when we are young. We, for some reason, tend to stop doing them as they grow. One is children smile a lot more than we do. They laugh a lot more than the elders. You know that laughing releases endorphins, which is, by the way, proven. There's enough research to show why it's good for your health. And second is they're by nature inquisitive. They will touch things, they will break things, they will put things in their mouth. But a lot of the upbringing today of children is, no, don't do this. Don't do this. Allow them to fall. If they fall, they will pick themselves up and learn that falling next time is not a great idea. And that truly is the best way to learn. And also teach them why it is sensible to treat everyone the same. They treat everyone with respect. Whether the person is cleaning the floor in your home, or it's somebody you meet on the streets, or it's your best friends, or it's a colleague, that everybody deserves and needs their own distinctive regard and respect. I think it's important that we all provide that. So since this is an event of flow, I think it's important to talk a little bit about why I believe it is important. For the second thing, I mentioned technology as one change for India. The second is allowing, encouraging, and in watching women become part of the mainstream, of the economic mainstream, or the recognized economic mainstream, because today we do not even put value to the work they're doing at home, which is enormous value. It's tremendous value. So we as an organization have tried, we've encouraged women in a number of areas, but I think we're still far behind where we need to be. Since I spoke about the foundation which does the festival, the team at Serendipity, which was running the festival, was 35. 32 of them were women, of the 35. And these 32 are very committed, mostly young women, as it happens. And again, since Anjana has dealt with them, she can probably give a more impartial view than mine. I think they do a great job, by the way, because from nothing, they built a festival, they built a foundation which is doing things, the only word I can use is literally earth-shattering in the world of arts and culture. We have many institutions from around the globe which come in now and are keen to become part of what is going on at Serendipity. Whether it's the publications or it's the setup, or it's the residencies, or it's the research programs, or it's the festival itself. And bulk of it is actually managed and run by women. One of the things that we do as a group now is a very active and very engaged investment office. I was fortunate when we restructured the group, I looked around and I saw that there was almost no risk capital available in India. Jayanti will tell me how much time is it, but run over the time already. Yep. Okay, I shall wind this up. So, so I found there was no risk capital available in India. So along with some friends, we set up the Indian Angel Network, which today has become the largest angel network in the world. And many more came in then, Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, etc., Hyderabad. So we said our job is done. We moved up to do VC type of funding. And we also put money into many VCs who were hesitant to come to India in those days. Now we have the best VCs in the world operating here, both Indian and global. And then we moved on, we said we will only do this work ourselves now. Along the way, we have both supported and learned a lot from women entrepreneurs, women investors, and funds run by women. So we actively engage with all of them. And the other one we do is the criteria that we have set up for selection of businesses to support, where we support mentor founders and support management teams, especially if they have women. We have set a criteria of what we hope and expect of them. If they don't have it today, we encourage them to move in that direction. Basically encouraging what I would call good behavior, acceptable good behavior. And so along the way, I felt that there is some interesting stuff happening. There used to be a lot of requests for books to be written from the company and the family, which we were never able to. We finally, when my father was 90, he agreed books should be written. We found authors who were then busy and couldn't do it before we lost him. So I then decided to do it myself and try to document some of this in simple language. So it's the journey of the family and the companies and the country in a sense, which is intertwined. And to FICCI Flow, I would say you have a wonderful mission. I like the way that you have such a diverse and a broad canvas on which you are working. I think as a nation, these are exemplars that we all need to learn from, but no 1, 5, 10 or 100 of us can do enough. So let's keep pushing in this direction. Let us keep building an agenda which is inclusive, which recognizes and celebrates the roles that women play and the role that anybody who does not look like us plays. I think that's important too, for us to not just accept, but to celebrate our differences. That we can have a difference of opinion is fine. This is okay, and that's okay too. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you so much, Mr. Munjal, for that very insightful talk. As India celebrates 75 years of independence, it is important to recognize the contributions of women entrepreneurs and investors to the country's economic growth and those who are building new age India. With this in mind, Flow, under the leadership of Jayanti Ji Dalmia and the Startup Initiative, have put together a coffee book with 75 women investors and entrepreneurs building India. This is an attempt to document and record success stories of contributions of few of the many women investors and builders of the country's development for the next generation. We understand that there are many more amazing businesses who may not be on this list, but this is just a beginning. I request the members on the dais to release the coffee table book, Women Investing and Building India. A big round of applause, please. I would now welcome Honourable Member of Parliament, Shri Anurag Sharma Ji, to address this gathering. Anurag Ji is an MP from Jhansi and Lalitpur from BJP, MD Bedina, and Treasurer Commonwealth Parliament Association. He is a member of Standing Committee on Science and Technology, Environment, Forests and Climate Change, Standing Committee on Health and Welfare, amongst various other posts that he holds. Anurag Ji, we know you have a keen interest in Ayurveda, and we would love to hear your thoughts on the future of the industry of Ayurveda and what you believe is the role of women.
Namaskar, everyone. Line taken from Manusmriti there says, the women are respected, God's beside. This wonderful hearing, Chairman of Hero Enterprises, Mr. SUNIL Kant Munjal, my friend, Pandaji, Shailesh Pathak, who served from in and around Bundelkhand, makes him half of Bundelkhandi here. The area I come from is called Bundelkhand. It's in the heart of India. We are an arid zone. The past presidents have visualized this organization and stirred it through years of vision, grit, and passion. So salutations to all of you who are here. Jayanti ji, today has been really inspiring and more than that. The awardees, I mean, let's just have a one round of applause for them. As someone in the political field, I go to a lot of places where we do a lot of awardees. We respect awards to people from various facets of life. This is the first time I've seen an entire award function where दिव्यांगों को आपने कुछ किया. They're really inspiring. And it takes me back to an old story. I'll talk about Ayurveda a little later. But there's a small town, it's actually a village in my constituency called Chirgaon during the COVID era. The first wave, we were giving out electrical tricycles. So these are battery operated tricycles. And I remember meeting this one gentleman, he really had no legs. And I went to him and he looked at me and he was very grateful he got this tricycle. We were giving about 40, 50 of them. So I was talking to him. So I asked him, I said, भैया क्या करेंगे आप? He said, भैया अब तो बाहर तो घर से निकलेंगे, कुछ नौकरी ढूंढेंगे, कुछ करेंगे. Last year again, 2 years of COVID, I had the pleasure of seeing him again, come from BJP rallies. He was there, I recognized him, so I walked up, I said, क्या कर रहे हैं आजकल? He said, भैया अब तो खुद की दुकान चला लेते. मैंने एक लेथ मशीन लगा ली. And I'm not looking for a job. I have 6 able people I give a job. That's the change we can bring in their lives. Just have to attempt something. Jayanti, I am completely floored today with what you've done. And I know it's been a very hectic year for you. And you are going to be a hard act to follow. So, Sudhaji is sitting here. You're going to be, and you're going to go into the 40th year. So all my best wishes with you and the Presidium and the team coming in. So I know you're going to do a wonderful, wonderful job. So my personal congratulations to all the winners and the awardees. You've inspired us. You've really inspired us. First thing I go to make sure tomorrow morning is bring up the Speaker of the House and say we're building a new parliament. The old parliament is definitely not disabled friendly. It's unfortunate. This country is not disabled friendly. This is not a country for disabled people. It's a fact of life. We've never looked at them. We've never been either both emotionally, mentally, looked at these people as assets. They actually give way more to society than able people. Like someone said, TAB, that word's going to stick into my mind and my life now. I am temporarily able person today, some years down the road. We are all going to need help. And if we don't take care of our people now, no one's going to help us in the future. So, Sarita ji, for you and Secretariat, thank you so very much for putting up a wonderful, wonderful show. And next is going to be really very nice. And Joshi Das Verma ji is here. Ma'am, nice to see you. You take over as the new Vice President. Ayurveda basically consists of 2 words. Ayurveda. Ayu, which means life, and Ved, which means science. So it's the science of life. It actually came to us during the great Sagar Manthan. You all know the story?
Yeah.
One arose carrying in his hand Amrit, in the other hand Ayurveda. He was the physicians to the god. His knowledge of Ayurveda was given to him by Brahma. And Lord Dhanvantri set out the early principles of Ayurveda. Ayurveda also is mentioned in our Vedic literature. It finds mention and its first principles are set out in Atharveda. So in Atharveda is where the first references we hear to the words of Ayurveda. The great thing about Ayurveda, it's a treatment which always yields results and rarely ever gives you any kind of side effects. So today you have a gentler system of healing, a kinder system of healing, and a system of healing which is sustainable, because Ayurveda really takes everything from Mother Earth. It's a system where we plant, we grow, and give back to Mother Earth. So it's much more gentler system both on our bodies, and it's a gentler system on Earth. So please do, and I know it's mainly flow ladies here, you're the early adapters and the adopters and the caregivers, and you always have looked at Ayurveda. Ayurveda suffered for years when the early invaders came. I heard Munjal Sahib speak about his trust and the work they do in preserving Indian culture. When the invaders came to this country, they systematically brought about destruction, not only of Nalanda Premier University, but every one of our cultural, religious, all our heritages, our arts, our crafts, our food, our language, and including the fact they attacked our health systems. Who preserved it? It was the women who preserved it. We actually owe a debt of gratitude to all the women in this country, because माँ के नुस्खे आज भी जिंदा है. आज भी हम घर में तुलसी लगाते हैं. You plant a little tulsi in your pocket. You still use aloe. Good. आज भी छोटी छोटी चीजें होती है तो माँ कहती है कि हल्दी खा लेना दूध के साथ. कहा जाता है घरों में भी. You still use kesar. All these systems were preserved by it for centuries. For centuries, Ayurveda survived. It survived because of the capacity of the Indian women. So today, when I stand and I come from an Ayurveda background, I'd like to say a big, big thank you to all of you. Unfortunately, Indian society became patriarchal and feudal in nature after the Vedic period, and we lost a lot of our sense of respect and our cultural heritage. Today, women are not only giving back to society, you are not only homekeepers, you are actually caregivers. You are also our knowledge banks and our knowledge centers. हमारे वहाँ जितना भी कहा जाता है रीति रिवाज वो आपसे आता है. Everything which I have learned most likely come from my mother. We have gone to various fancy schools and gone to universities. But रीति रिवाज, घर की परंपरा, my culture, my thinking, my roots always come from my mother. And it's, I think, with all of us, every Indian in society probably feels the same way. Today, under the Prime Minister under the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi's regime, Ayurveda is going by leaps and bounds, especially during the pandemic. If you remember the first wave, when we were all frightened, all in our homes, not knowing what to do. And we didn't know what kind of death wave was coming at us. The Prime Minister stood up and promoted Ayurveda. He says, you need to bring up your immunity game. You need to up your immunity. And this is the Prime Minister, Modi ji, which I'll forever be grateful from the Ayurveda industry side, who actually created the first Ministry of Ayurveda in India. And we not only got a minister, we got a cabinet ranked minister. So the renaissance, the rejuvenation in the industry in Ayurveda faced because of the Honorable Prime Minister. He not only championed the cause of Ayurveda, he's championed the cause of Ayush across the world. Ayush consists of 4 words: Ayurveda, Y for Yoga, U for Unani, S for Siddha, and H for Homeopathy. So those are the 4 words of Ayush. And as you all know, the Prime Minister himself is a huge champion of yoga. World Yoga Day is celebrated across the world. And it's does so much of us proud. Our culture is now across the world where India is not only looked as a great power, you're not only looked as an economic power, but you're also looked at as a cultural power, a cultural heritage, where people across the world today follow yoga. And I'm very happy to report, I'm just coming actually from Anurag Thakurji's place, the Honorable Minister for Sport. And we've just launched today the first expedition of a yoga guru going to Mount Everest, and he's going to be practicing various yoga poses on Mount Everest to prove that hypothermia, breathing, and any such ill effects which normal humans would face, how they're elevated in yoga and yoga. So very happy to report. And this is a young man, I must talk a little more about him. He comes from a very tiny village, one of my constituencies called Lalitpur. His name is Son Singh Yadav. And he runs a yoga course in all the places in China. The Prime Minister mentioned. He's been there for 25 years. He has 7.2 million followers. And he lives there in China. And he teaches Chinese yoga. And this boy is so extremely fit. He speaks fluent Chinese. He speaks, I think, about 6 other languages. And belongs to a tiny village. If you look it up, you probably won't find it on Google Maps, but Viruda in my constituency. So I've just flagged, and hopefully he will be scaling the heights of Mount Everest soon. Now coming back to Ayurveda, women are at the forefront of the renaissance in Ayurveda. Women are actually the first early adapters. We all love our spas, don't we? So you're the first people who go to wellness centers and Ayurveda spas. It's actually led to a very large industry. The Indian industry size is approximately, for Ayush, now become $18 billion, and it's growing at a CAGR of 27%. And that's primarily women-driven. Today, when I go to Ayurvedic colleges, you look at young doctors being passed out, or young veds as I like to call them, it's mainly women. They're actually taking care of Ayurveda, and they're taking Ayurveda to the next level. When we actually go to universities and look at PhD and MD students and research scientists, it's again young ladies which I go and see them. And I see them as my primary scientists and my primary health givers. So a large number of women are working in the Ayush sector, and they're doing a fantastic job. The Ayush Ministry has incidentally started a new program called Nari Shakti Purushkar, and is given to women working in the Ayush field for outstanding work. We also have another program which is called Ayush Gurdwara, aimed to support and inspire female entrepreneurs in the healthcare industry. Women want to open up training centers, clinics for Ayurveda, yoga, any part of Ayush, and receive financial support through this program. This is an encouraging development for the local economy, as it allows women to gain employment and entrepreneurial opportunities. But that reminds me, we actually created a new highway in Bundelkhand. It's called the Bundelkhand Expressway. It's about 300 kilometers long. My chief minister one day, of course, Yogi Adityanath, better known as Bulldozer Baba. Yogi once called up and said, Amrati, what can we do for this highway? I said, why can't we call it the Ayush highway? He said, kya kare? So I said, पेड़ लगाएंगे और आयुष के पेड़ लगाएंगे. And Ayush has some most wonderful trees. Arjun, Ashok, Amla, Kathel, Neem, People, everything we've grown up with. Jamun. So he came up and he said, yes, let's do this. We're going to plant the entire 300 kilometers. We're going to do an entire highway. And guess who are actually at the forefront of leading this? Women's self-help groups. We've involved them. And they're the ones coming forward from the villages and helping plant trees. I'll give you another incident about women. I come from a very arid zone. Bundelkhand, as you all know, is economically backward. We, of course, have the most famous woman in India, the Rani of Jhansi. Khoob ladi Rani, Jhansi wali. तो हमारी मर्दानी ने बहुत मेरे ख्याल से 23 साल की उम्र थी जब उन्होंने अपने प्राण त्याग दिए थे, बलिदान दिया था. But talking about this cultivation, I was once in the villages and we were looking and talking to women. And we said, Didi, क्या कर सकती हैं आप? Sorry, I hope you understand Hindi, right? So they said, what can we do, भैया? I said, आपके वहाँ आंवले के पेड़ होते हैं. So they're sitting right here. You probably realize आंवला grows wild in Bundelkhand. It grows all over the place. They don't get any revenue for it. It's about $7, $8 a kilo. And this used to make, of course, your Chawanprash, which I hope you're all having regularly. In case you're not, please do. I know your parents forced it down your throats when you were young, but it's still a good habit to have. So we talked to them. So all I said to them was, you protect these trees and when these amlas grow, you don't have to do anything. Just wait for them to ripen. They will get ripe, they will fall on the ground. Once they fall on the ground, they'll dry. Once they dry, all you have to do is remove the seed. My company will pick it up at 140 rupees a kg. So from 8 rupees, you can get up to 140 rupees a kg. It helps protect my forest. It helps protect the environment. And plus, it gives me a dedicated vote bank. Apart from that, it's a supply chain. So it's a win situation for all of us. So here we look at, and I'm also grateful for FICCI. In FICCI, we created the Ayush Council here. I was luckily nominated, I think, as its first chairperson a couple of years ago. And now under the aegis of Ministry of Commerce, as well as the Ayush Ministry, we've also in FICCI created Ayush Excel, the Export Promotion Council for Ayush this year. So that's been a great help from FICCI for helping promote Ayush across the world. A leading reason behind the growing confidence in the Indian traditional system of medicine is also the fact that the Government of India is now promoting what we call an equivalent to the WHO GMP standard, which is called the Ayush Premium Mark. Today, Ayurveda is also one of the few disruptive places where technology and new things are playing a key role in bringing healthcare to the villages, in bringing healthcare down the cities. A lot of times when I'm asked one particular question by everyone, whether it's gatherings like this or even in Parliament, invariably someone will come up and say, Raji, so technology can help you locate the where you need. Technology can help the where get to you and prescribe the right medicine and the right system of treatment to you. So we are focusing on those kind of technologies and they're really helping. Today, like I said, we are an 18 billion industry growing at 27% a year. India is also the world's largest exporter of alternative medicine. We are also a biodiversity hotspot. We have 8,000 species of recorded plants, of medicinal plants, right from the Himalayas to the coastline to the desert, the rainforest that power this sector. The biggest markets for Indian Ayush products today are Western Europe, North America, UK, Russia, West Asia, Japan, among others. India has been assisting countries worldwide in healthcare, and we are especially working with countries in Southeast Asia. A big reason behind the rapid expansion of Ayush success has been its efficiency in managing lifestyle and chronic diseases. This has helped promote Ayush across the world. Given the success, the Ministry of Ayush has entered into partnerships with WHO, Harvard Medical College, among other leading institutions for R&D. I'm actually also very happy to announce under Mr. Modi, under Prime Minister Modi, we've also in India are now creating the WHO Center for Traditional Medicine. The globe, it's the first of its kind, the WHO Center for Traditional Medicine being opened by WHO in the world, and it's being opened and it's inaugurated by the Honorable by the Honorable Prime Minister in, I think it was last August, yeah, it was probably last August when we opened it at Jamnagar. The Prime Minister has also been very kind to give us 2 institutes of national importance. National importance institute means institutes that get funded very easily. These 2 institutes are actually the Institute at ITRA, Institute of Research in Ayurveda at Jamnagar again, and the National Institute of Ayurveda at Jaipur. Let me also talk a bit about what Vedanath does. I come from Vedanath, it's a 105-year-old company. I'm the 3rd generation, so I might as well talk about it. If I don't, somebody probably accuse me of not selling the company. So I've got to sell some products or make a living. So it was started by my grandfather. He came from a small, tiny village in Rajasthan and went to Vedanath Dham. Some of you have not went to Vedanath Dham, please do go there. Baba ke darshan ho. It's a brilliant Shakti. Shiv ka mandir hai. So we started medicines from there. Today, this 100-year-old legacy continues to survive and thrive. And I'm very happy to report that today women in the family are actually coming into the forefront of helping promote Ayurveda. My daughter runs a company called Mantra Herbal, where she is into cosmeceuticals and Ayurvedic herbal products. She does about 70, 80 odd products across the country. What brings me even greater joy is the fact that over 90% of our employees are women. And I presume over 90% of our employees, not only because they're women, over 90% of our consumers also probably women. So it's been a great journey. It's a cruelty-free brand certified by PETA. It uses no harmful chemicals. It's managed to remove over 200 chemicals actually, and is WHO GMP certified. These companies established themselves in the field of Ayurveda. And I would actually like to also encourage more people to come to the world of Ayurveda. Ayush is going to be one of the fastest growing sectors across the world because India and traditional Chinese system of medicine are the only 2 old ancient systems of medicines. And these are not based on chemical-based products, but they are also based on the fact they're scientifically designed for the human body. Why are they scientifically designed? They've been around for 2,000 to 5,000 years. And looking at India's population, we've not harmed its population at all. So our products have actually, along the way, for a very long time, given you what we call empirical evidence. We've given you evidence that these products work. Today, when you actually have chemical-based sciences, and I'm not saying anything against big pharma, so in case some of you are from big pharma, you will get upset with me, but what I'm trying to say is, when we use any chemical-based product or any chemical-based medicine, our biggest drawback is 10 years or 15 years down the road, they tend to get banned. For some reason or the other. Because science cannot look 15 years down or 20 years down ahead as to what happens to the human body on consuming of some of these chemicals. Ayurveda is being used by the humans for over 5,000 years. So you know exactly what happens to you. Today, I must also say, we are actually entering a very exciting phase in Ayurveda. And again, this is where the women will really come forward and help. Ayurveda as an industry, we are going into what is called functional food. So as a policy, the government of India is making a new policy which is called Ayurveda Ahar. Ahar meaning food. We are what we eat at the end of the day. So Ayurveda Ahar is going to be a new policy coming in. Nutrition and nutrition for both athletes, for normal people, is going to be the next big game changer in India. We are also bringing in a new legislation for Ayurveda Saundara. That means beauty products designed on the basis of Charak Samhita and other traditional books. So it consists of 3 basic words, which is Rupam, which I don't have to explain to you, Gunam, which is the inner beauty, and Vayastar, meaning lasting beauty. So considering all this, Ayurveda is going to be in a very, very exciting space in the next 5 years. I would encourage as many of you, please try and get on to the what we say, the bandwagon. It's really going to be good to have young women, especially women entrepreneurs, join the Ayurveda field. I also would like to again extend my thank you so much to Flo, and I'm so grateful that you gave me time today to be here. And it's been a wonderful experience. I've never attended a Flo gathering. My wife used to keep banning me from it. But it's been wonderful to be here, and thank you so much for this opportunity. Have a great, great evening.